Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Administration, Communication, and Technology Committee. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. It is 5:30 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. My name is Brian Travis. I am the chair of the committee. I'm here along with my colleagues, fellow council people, Brian McGinnis and Sheila Vaccaro. First order of business is announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? No. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the second piece of business. That is comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda, and we need a mic fix here.
Darrell Cook, South Walnut Street. You've heard the phrase, if it's not broken, don't mess with it. High Street improvements aren't. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is reports. First up is the CISO annual report.
We're almost there. Apologize about that delay, technical problems. I put a help desk ticket in, but I haven't got a response yet. Okay, this is my annual report, which everyone should have received, the physical report. This is just covering some of the highlights of it. One thing I always do note is the IT, I do believe, is the backbone. I think Sean's getting tired of hearing that of the organization. It's how we get things done in big and small ways. Our continued reliance on cybersecurity continues to be a challenge. I think we're doing a good job, but you can see by that graph, that's just basically our costs going back to 2020 with cybersecurity. I think it's all really important investment and smart investment. But just to show you where it plays in our budget there. So the IT department continues to adapt and change with both the national technology landscape and the needs of our organization. Our cybersecurity efforts continue to expand and become more diverse, requiring the need for continual attention, management, education, and response, I'll say. Our physical infrastructure is very diverse, continues to grow. It includes virtual hosts. This is where our servers live. Firewalls, VPNs, virtual private networks, backup appliances, video and security services, audio recording and streaming, network switches, access points, cameras, computers, mobile devices, digital document servers, and much more. I like to list that there because I don't get to do that very often, but they're all the different pieces of equipment that help us do what we need to do. Some of the projects that the IT department led this year was completing our network switch upgrades. This took place over the course of about 18 months. There's about 24 to 26 switches. They're very expensive and complex to set up and install, but that's all done. We also upgraded all the access points that are at this building, Public Works, the 2 wastewater plants. All these access points are connected. And so if you're here or at Public Works or at one of the wastewater plants, you're on the same wireless network using the same credentials. We expanded our 2-factor authentication to Duo, finished that this year, and that means everyone is authenticating on a local level, not just in the cloud. That includes the police department, so that's done. Printer upgrades. This year we upgraded most of our larger printers. I'm always proud to say we don't have many printers in this organization. We probably only have about anywhere between 9 and 11 total printers in the entire organization because we use these larger digital document servers. We use a service called PaperCut with the lanyards you see us wearing, the same lanyard that gets you in the building also allows you to print your job when you're ready to print. I'm trying to take my time so you can take all this in. We're working on trying to refresh our website. We're still working with Building and Housing and Public Works to complete that. Our point of sale devices, our Clover devices have been upgraded and replaced. Last year, we began for the first time doing penetration testing. This is really important. I believe it's unique for local government to be doing this, is where we pay basically someone like a white hat hacker through an organization to try to penetrate our network, documenting all their attempts and what they were successful with, what they weren't. We did this last year. We did very well with it. Did make some minor changes, and we're doing it 2 more times this year. So that is part of our cybersecurity strategy now, is to test our internal and external network connections. Project Assist, these are larger projects that the IT department is just assisting other project leads with, and you can see OpenGov with Nick, Cartograph with Nick last year, Flash with Ramsey, Paylocity with the HR department, and again with Ramsey with the kiosk project. These are just where IT is just helping these departments accomplish their goals. My favorite part of the whole annual report is cybersecurity management. Last year, there were 1,020 automated cybersecurity threats flagged and prevented. So the system is seeing these come in and stopping that. But as I said, just because it's automated, IT does stop and double check these to make sure nothing is left out there. But that has happened. Instant response is my favorite part. This is either IT or mostly staff reporting suspicious messages. Everything from spam to legitimate phishing messages are being reported by our staff all the time. So we had 710 of these incidents last year. So that makes me very proud of our staff. We had 2 account takeover attempts last year. This is just someone trying to actively to get into one of our users' accounts. They were not successful. Disaster recovery, we have several different initiatives to protect our information. One is on-premise with Datto, backing up our solutions and data locally. In the cloud with Datto, so it's also being backed up in the cloud. And also through Barracuda's cloud-to-cloud backups. We kind of have a 3-tier backup solution. If one fails, there's another one there to help us out. Cybersecurity awareness training is a constant everyday initiative, I believe. You just can't do it once or twice a year. You have to make it part of the employee's day-to-day work life, or day-to-day life, actually. So we use our newsletter and our daily videos on YouTube for the employees. Of course, October is my favorite month of the year, not just because of Halloween, but because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And we participated again this year, where every day there was a lesson to be learned. Each week, those lessons were recapped in our newsletter, and then followed up in early November with a class for the staff. Help desk services is kind of the basic help desk services we always get. Our printer's not working, or I need help with this spreadsheet. My monitor is not coming on, keyboard's not working, all these minor things that are important. So there were 766 of these last year, about 64 per month. And as I always say, unfortunately, this only captures about 70% of what I would call help desk tickets. They come in many other ways, running into our office, calling us, grabbing us and dragging us to the office to help them. Ramsey. Unscheduled events, these are things I don't like. These are things that Jeff or I did not plan. Something failed and we had to go and work on it. This only happened twice last year, so that's a really good low number. In smaller and unplanned initiatives, these are not help desk tickets, these are not projects. These are all listed in my monthly report, and it's also in my, I think it's in the annual physical report, but it's in every monthly report. We did over 110 of these assists that were not help desk tickets or projects. Training is very important, so trying to get Jeff into training. He did get certified in PowerShell this year. And I took a couple leadership classes in AI and analytics, so I can better communicate with my friend Nick. AI is going to be a big one coming up here soon. Our budget trended as possible with about $18,000 in the plus at the end of the year. As of now, there may be a couple of smaller things that may still hit it, but we did a good job with the budget, I believe. I'll just say we were able to get into State Tech Magazine talking about cybersecurity and disaster recovery. We got to be in the local in October for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And we got to win an award for cybersecurity staff engagement an essay that basically we submitted. They were all fun stuff. That's all I have for this presentation. Please give me some questions.
I do have a question because the next item, which I'm actually going to make a motion to move because it's in the wrong place according to Robert's rules, about the enhancements that you had already kind of planned for the building and housing webpage, if you will. I know that there are links that go to other pages and so on and so forth. Can you just tell me a little bit about what was already planned so I don't repeat myself when we talk about this again?
I'm going to go to their webpage here. And there's a lot more to be done with the building and housing part of this. It's just that department has been in a state of, I don't know what word to use, but they haven't had time to really do a whole lot with this.
If it makes it easier, why don't we just move it to the discussion versus having it twice then? I thought maybe you would know offhand exactly what was planned and we could just talk about
No,
it.
I don't. I only know what's up there now, what
I want to move.
Sally and I,
So,
I don't have future plans that I
Okay.
know of.
yeah, I want to make a motion to adjust the agenda, to amend the agenda so that item 3B is in 5A. It should be a new business item. It's just in the wrong place.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't have any other questions for the CISO annual report, did you? Anyone from the audience tonight? No? Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Welcome.
So moving, based on the amendment to the agenda to old business, item number 4, the first item is approve the January 2025 meeting minutes. And I did see a discrepancy in the meeting minutes. Did you also notice that?
I'll put it on the screen for you too. That was approved 3-0 then. I will correct that.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Next item of old business was discuss the interview process for boards, commissions, committees. And the issue was basically around the, if I'm remembering this correctly, around the recommendation to adopt a single process for bringing, basically filling vacancies. And I think I might have missed the first part of this discussion, but I think it was basically following a best practice to allow boards, commissions, and committees to make recommendations in which would be finalized or approved by council versus us having a part in the interview process. And so that's why this was, and then there was a disagreement, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think there was just a discussion about,
We wanted more involvement in the actual hiring interview process.
the suggestion was that we follow the procedure that the bid uses, where there is, the bid reviews the resumes, makes a recommendation to council, and then we have the option to approve or disapprove. The other boards, each individual person comes up with their resume, and then we make the decision separate from the board.
Okay, so our recommendation was 3-0 to adopt a single process. I'm trying to remember why it got kicked back. Sean, do you recall? There's not any notes on this.
I think Ms. Vaccaro has it right. It's the question, and I see Ms. Dorsey getting up because you were somebody who spoke up about this. But if I'm faithful, let me know. If I'm not, you'll correct me. That we want the debate is whether you want the boards and commissions to conduct the interviews in their meetings, and then make a recommendation to this body that Steve Smith should be appointed, because we went through all the resumes and Steve Smith is somebody who's going to work out for us.
Yeah.
Or whether you want to conduct those interviews here. And I think I'll let you make your comment, Ms. Dorsey. I think I know.
So fresh in my mind is we just established a new committee, but none of council actually interviewed anyone for this committee. We just kind of took first comers. We reviewed their credentials, but we didn't really interview.
Those are the interviews. That's what the interview is.
Light
And
interview.
that's why I kind of think this should be pushed back to the boards who are more invested in this, so that there's a real interview rather than a 2-second presentation and we get to maybe read a resume if they submit one or not.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from.
I was in agreement with the recommendation because the boards, commissions, and committees are in this. That's their one thing. They're more familiar with the agenda items, and they're more familiar with what needs they need to fill in specific positions. You know, if they're looking for specific skill sets, that might be completely out of bounds for me. So I would appreciate a recommendation
I'm in agreement.
from the experts.
Lisa Dorsey, Borough Council. I wasn't here last month, but I did have a conversation with Vice President and President. And my concern is, I think I understand, the reasoning. My concern is having a group of people not having a diverse group with diverse thoughts and experiences that can bring value to the committees. My concern is that the committees will become, let's nominate or recommend our friend who thinks like us, walks like us, talks like us, versus having diverse thoughts and really having an opportunity to move the committees forward and the borough, frankly. And I will use, I guess it was January, where we had several openings. And we had an opportunity to visually see, and we didn't ask any questions. Well, we did. Parks and Rec, we did it. We asked who took the survey. We could see where they lived. We could see how they were participating, and we will not have that visibility if we do not participate in that process. And my concern is, again, that, there won't be diverse thought and diverse representation from different areas of the borough to help include everyone's thoughts and concerns on the committees.
Thank you. I understand that now. And I do remember a little bit of this conversation now. And I remember we pushed this back to committee because we did not have Lisa that has some strong feelings about this present.
May I suggest maybe a point to consider? Does it have to be an either or?
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Question?
This is two
Can
different,
it be both?
this might be two different issues too. One could be following a standard process and the other could be ensuring that we have diversity statements that each of the commissions, committees, need to follow when they're considering candidates. I don't know what the right fix is for this, but that would be potentially.
Participating a little bit in the debate here, but what if there was a recommendation from the committee, but also an informed decision about all the candidates that were interviewed, documented and presented to council, so council could still call people to be interviewed so that should they choose at the meeting. I don't see it quite as a black and white issue. Maybe both things could be accomplished.
I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, again, these are, to me, I look at them as recommendations, and those are the people that are going to know the best about these committees. I mean, we take their professional recommendations for policies. So, I mean, I'm not sure why we wouldn't take their personnel recommendations.
I'm just going to say on the bid, I have seen this work very effectively. I completely agree with Ms. Dorsey's concerns. I think they're very valid. And if there's any guardrails we can put in there to prevent that, I want them there. But when I've seen it work well, it works very well. I'm concerned about it, and I'm very open to suggestions.
So, may I speak?
Absolutely. Yes, Mayor.
Lillian DeBaptiste, Westchester. What I was going to say is I think we've lost sight of a couple of things. One is that we are all volunteers, pretty much. You know, this is pretty much a volunteer gig. And all of those committees are volunteers. So when you think about Westchester and think about how many people come out to volunteer on a committee, they come out to volunteer because they have an interest in that committee, which means they have an interest to do the work to learn about the committee they're volunteering in. And when you have an interest to learn about the committee, I think that sustains what you do. So you go out, you learn about it, you're doing it, you feel fulfilled, and you're giving back. I think what's important is that you all as council, you're all volunteers. And heretofore, council has been very discerning and has been able to pick good volunteers. Now, when you have questions, I think what we need to do more of is see the resumes prior to perhaps, and ask the questions, because you're saying, well, we're not asking questions. Well, sometimes, the committees don't rise to that level. Some committees are more important than others. I, for one, have seen the importance of having a background in planning and zoning to be on those committees. But some of the others, like Park and Recreation, Library, it just requires an intense desire to be a part of that committee and to make a difference in the borough. Doesn't mean it doesn't take skills, but it doesn't have to be those specialized nuances that some committees require. And I think that if you all can do your job and pick someone that really has an interest, because everyone that comes, and there's not that many people who are candidating for most of these things. I think that if you're picking from someone that really wants to do it and you feel that, then you've picked a good candidate. Because no matter how much, we're all learning on the job. You're learning as a council person on the job. They're learning as, whatever committee they decide to join on the job. And the people who are on those committees learned on the job. So we're all learning as we go. And those people who are on these committees can help them with the onboarding process. So I think in order to keep the pool as wide as possible in this town, rather than it just not become a good old boy group of people, all neighbors from one ward or another ward, so that the people can come from all the wards and be on and learn more about other wards in this town called Westchester. I think it is important that you all continue to do it as it's been done, because it's not broke. So I don't really think that this is a fix.
I see what you're saying. Yep. So we're not trying to fix anything. We're just trying to adopt a singular process because we thought maybe it'd be more efficient for certain reasons, or the other aspect is to put, our faith and trust into the chair people that are actually leading these committees and the rest of the officers. And we felt that would be a good, that would be a source of goodwill. That's where I was coming from. If there's no reason to change what we currently have, because it doesn't address a problem that we have, if we think we might be creating a problem, then I would be willing to give this item no recommendation from this committee and just let it go to council for discussion.
Do we have to,
No, but that's where I am right now.
I mean, what the mayor just said made me want to do something more and different. I can just drop this.
Yeah, why don't we just send it to council for discussion and we can just take it without a recommendation from this committee. I think we can leave it.
That's fine.
So item number 4B will be no recommendation. All right, so moving on to new business. Based on the amended agenda, this would be 5A, discuss enhancing the building, housing, and codes enforcement page on the website. Something happened to the screen here?
It was about to blow up. I'm just resetting it. But you can keep going. It's on the other two screens. That projector just sounded really bad.
Should we wait till the screen comes
No,
back
you can,
up?
I mean, you can still use other screens.
Okay. So this item came up, actually, Ms. Ficarra brought this to my attention, that our information regarding the student housing database is not awesome. It's in a spreadsheet. I think it's, I'm going to get to it. Just let me just finish my preamble here. And we felt that I felt that there were parts of the building and housing website that really needed a lot of attention and cleanup, which begs the question of who owns the content on this page, how does it get maintained, so on and so forth. So I just made this item discuss enhancing the building and housing portion of the website, because I think that there's a lot that can be done here. Sounds to me that there are already some things that were in play. So I don't want to be redundant here. Maybe Nick or Bill, if you could give an update on kind of what you see for this very complex department.
I'll let Nick talk about the data part of this and the student database and all that. Each website is managed through that department. So that department would have a team, that department head and other individuals from that department will work with the IT department to make updates. One of the things we were trying to do last year was visit each department and give them the time to do some updates. Building and housing kind of stopped after we did some of this, just because of some of things that were going on within that department. So there is more work to be done on this, but when it comes to the database and all that other information, that's external to this. You may get to it from here at some point, but it won't be housed here, if that makes sense.
Okay. Excuse me. Nick Fink, data manager for the borough. So Bill, if you could go up to data and map services, please, and go to the zoning map lookup. So I agree with you. A PDF of a spreadsheet on the website is not great. So a couple years ago, I went through that whole thing, and this is our zoning lookup. I don't know how many of you have seen it before, but Bill, just click on anywhere in town. So you can see over on the left-hand side, if you scroll down, it's got your base zoning. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, if there was more overlay zoning, historic districts. So this app has the base zoning, the overlay zoning, the HARB, the carriage house inventory, and the student rentals in here. So if you were to put in an address up on the top and it had a student rental there, it's going to pull it back in addition to all the other zoning information. So the database exists. It's in our cloud-based GIS system, and it feeds this map. So anybody can go here, and if they're questioning whether or not it's a student rental, if it comes back and there's no information on that side about a student rental, it's not a student rental.
So I'm going to think way too big, because it's what I do, right?
Or
just
Right.
bear with me. I'm in North Carolina. I'm sending my daughter up here for college. I want to go. She's second year student. I want to find her a student rental. I know we're not advertising for anybody. We're not.
Bill, that one down the bottom says approved student housing. Sorry.
I want to be able to look at a map that shows me where the student rentals are, and then I can click on it and figure out who I contact to try and get her in that building, because that's the ideal place in my mind for her to rent. This is a ridiculous request. I'm asking you to be like homes.com for a university that is not the borough, like I'm asking you to do a ridiculous thing. But in my mind, it would be super helpful. It would be something useful for parents, students, and the neighbors to be able to, in a friendly and non like, we're the government and we're telling you where you're allowed to go and not go. I'm trying to be like pleasant and happy and welcoming. I know this is like sort of a complete inversion of what we're really doing, but I'm going to ask anyway. So that's my dream, is that this is super friendly and welcoming and easy for anybody to access and fully informative, that only 5 students are allowed to rent in that building at one time. So she can only have 4 friends go with her. And I know that in North Carolina without stepping foot here, and it's just clear as day.
So instead of an address-based lookup, you just want to see a map that shows every property. And the data already exists, and that's about a 15-minute job.
I know, but that's my dream.
Yeah. Okay. That's doable.
Thank you.
So I actually didn't even know that this overlay existed. And if I was going, this is not where I would expect to find that information.
Yeah.
It's not currently on the building and housing portion of the website. But a link to this, or maybe even just this part of it, would be helpful. I think, there's, if I look at the website, and Bill, if you don't mind going back to that, pan down a little bit, it talks about the core functions. I feel like this website should be broken into those core functions, because they're kind of speaking to, construction and permits for that. And then there's rentals and regulation and inspection. It just feels like there's too much thrown into this one page, that if I'm looking for something specific, I have to already know where it is. And so just think about that. I didn't want to prescribe anything, but as we're thinking about, and we've been talking about it for, I think, a year now, what the new version of this department's going to look like, and having ownership over this content on the site and having it displayed in a way that's user-friendly for these various audiences to understand where they need to go to find stuff. I think it's going to be a really important aspect of managing this entire function. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we're currently
Soapbox speech here, but I'm kind of, yeah.
we're working on standard operating procedures and the communication methods and advertising more tools like that, and
Yeah.
and advertising how the online portal works and things like that.
It's time. It's due. I think it's overdue. And then if you go to the hearing notices and proposed ordinances, I didn't keep going down. Below zoning maps. Yeah. If you click on that, I don't understand what this is. Is it just an extraneous piece of artifact information? I mean, it looks like everything was dated 2015 and it's not complete. So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, is like, why is this here? It's just an artifact of something that was worked on at one point, and now it's just. I don't know what the next step would be for that, but maybe think about it for a little bit and put a pitch or a proposal together for maybe what 3.0 looks like for 2025. I did notice on the Public Works site that we actually break out wastewater specifically, that function, even though it's still part of Public Works. Maybe this building and housing could follow some similar process for yeah. Anyway, guys have anything on this? I know we talked about the searchable database. That was a wish list item. Mine was mostly about cleanup and organization, better display of communication and information on the site. So nothing to do here, just more of this discussion. And maybe there's more to come on the searchable piece. Nick, if you don't mind chewing on that, maybe we could revisit it in a month or so. Okay, thank you. That was the only new business item. So is there any other business? That item is actually not on this agenda, but are there other items, anything from the public? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned at 6:06.